Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of the GhettoRig podcast. My name is Eddie. To my left, we have my co-host Jay. Behind the cameras, controlling all the buttons, we got Miggy. And shout out to our official sponsors: UFC Gym Largo and Pinellas Park, and Vitality Wellness Centers. Links in the description. Um, get right into it. Today we were just
Sure,
talking
boys.
about how shitty toll services can be, and then Arthur reminded us how in New York they're $15 to go one
Yeah.
way and back. This to the same toll the same day, which does suck. I had to pay $67 in tolls. That shit was kind of annoying.
Yeah, so that happened to me. I was in Philadelphia and I accidentally took the wrong exit. But because I took the wrong exit, it took me on a toll road that I had to pay for. And that one way was $10. And then I
Yeah.
had to make a U turn and come back, pay another $10 just to get back into Philadelphia from New Jersey
Miguel,
side.
look up how many tolls are on Suncoast Parkway between veterans
Oh,
between
yeah, bro.
veterans and
You're looking at
Suncoast.
$15 one way, no problem. If you're going that far, yeah, you're looking at $15.
Suncoast Parkway originally had these toll plazas have bypassed now. Sunpass uh, originally had three, but I think it has more than three.
No, no, it's more than that. It's more than that because you're paying one right when you enter veterans, basically first or second exit. You start paying tolls, and then you continue paying tolls as you go along, all the way to Crystal River, and you keep paying like it's $10 to
See right
$15 or
there, it
something
says
like that.
Florida's Turnpike Veterans Expressway. It breaks. I think it has a breakdown there. Go up one more. That one.
Yeah, you paying decent
Toll
amount.
rates. Yeah.
Yeah, so pull up that third page.
So this is the entire road, right? Veterans Expressway.
Yeah,
That's
so
it.
there you go.
Those are
Those
all
are
the
your
tolls.
tolls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Scroll up, Mickey, because it has the values back to that little chart. Yeah. So two axle, right? Toll by plate. So the first one's 86 cents, then
but
a
these are
dollar
the exits.
16.
These some of them are listing just the exits, right? Like it says Hutchinson Road, then it says
Well, that's
Gun
because
Highway.
that's the exit it's most near to. I'm assuming that's like
No,
they're
no, 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 no.
assigning the.
Those are the exits. When you come off the exit, that's what you pay. If you go down,
No, no, no. Look, it says milepost.
yeah, that's where the exit is.
You don't pay a difference.
On a Gun Highway, when you get off Gun Highway, you pay a toll there. But you don't pay a toll when you're passing Gun Highway.
All those, I'm sure, you're on like Suncoast Parkway already, I don't see myself paying any of that shit.
No, you do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. See, like there's those triangles and there's the squares, and if you go down, it explains what they mean. Interchange with no toll collection. So meaning there's nothing to collect there, right? So there you go. Memorial Highway, there's one right there. And then it goes back up. That's right there, Hillsborough Ave. You don't really pay anything there, but that entire road you pay tolls, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, I know you do, bro. What are you talking about? I'm saying I've never seen the tolls on the exits only, like passing that area. I'm pretty sure all those tolls that is listing on the top are just the mile markers and where the toll's near.
Well, I'll check next time on veterans
And then Suncoast, go
specifically.
down, Mickey, because it gives another chart. All these as well. I go through all of these.
Mm-hmm.
And the one way and then the other
Well,
as
this is
well.
Suncoast Parkway SR 589 Hills.
I go through in the entire Suncoast Parkway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah, so those are all
All
your
I
tolls.
drive
Yeah,
all
you're
of that.
hitting all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I hit every single one of those.
Yeah, that's what like. There was the like. This is many years
Hey
ago.
Miguel, what's the difference I'm gonna be paying here? About half in some spots, right?
Yeah.
Go
Yes.
down, or no? Sorry, up. You're right. You're right. That one, yeah. No, not necessarily half, but a little bit less.
So
In
you're
certain
paying half.
spots, half. In
Mm-hmm.
certain ones, other ones about 30% less.
Mm-hmm. Like that
Okay.
37 CR, that's definitely almost half. And
Some of
then
them. I
30
hope it makes
cents
a
less.
difference.
Yeah, yeah, no, it will make a difference. It'll make a difference for sure.
I think also like going fishing Skyway. I did that recently.
Yeah, that's a toll right
Those are
there.
tolls.
Mm-hmm.
I used to on the way home. You know where? Because we work by the Clearwater Airport.
Mm-hmm.
You know where the post office is back there?
Clearwater
Like
Airport.
if you turn off 49th Street
Mm-hmm.
and you go to the post office that's back there in front of the prison. You know if you want to turn out of that little area, you go towards Almerton. And there's 49th and shit. They finally finished
That connection.
that
Yeah.
connection, and so you can jump on right there
That's a
and get to
toll.
275 South. That's a toll. I was taking that home for a little while. I don't know how much that toll is. I think it's like $1 something.
Yeah, yeah. All these, there. You know what's the reason behind the tolls, right?
You pay for it.
To pay for the road, yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, what they do, because the federal government doesn't give them the money, and Florida State, let's say, doesn't have the money, so we're like, well, I need to build the road. So what they do, they release Florida, or even sometimes even the city does, but it's mainly like the state. State will release what's called municipal bonds, and people will buy these municipal bonds, and each bond is $1,000. That then, so basically, you give them $1,000, and when the bond expires, let's say after 5, 10 years or whatever, they return the bond to you, that your $1,000. But during that time, every year they give you percentage of that $1,000. So it's every year they have to give you a certain percent. So you keep accumulating that, and then at the end you get your $1,000 when they buy it back from you.
Okay.
But they use that money to finance the percentage and the $1,000 that you gave them.
Okay. And what does
So
that have to do with anything tolls?
But that's the municipal government will release that for the toll road.
Yeah,
pay
to
the toll road.
contractors to pay for it. Okay.
Well, no. So because Florida State doesn't have the money to build it, right? So what they'll do, they'll release that municipal bond, and people will buy it. Now they have
They use
the
the
money.
money, okay.
They use the money to give it to the contractors. But you know what was the biggest scam? Remember back in the day, Almerton Road, for like years, it wasn't fixed. Like they started construction, then they stopped, then they started
Yeah,
again.
it's still one of the longest things ever.
You know why, right?
I'm assuming money.
So this company from South America came in, won the bid, right? They started the contract, they collected the money, and fucking disappeared, and bankrupted the company, disappeared. So they took all the money. So then they had
Nice.
to go back and try to get more money to finish the road. That's why it took such a long time to build it. That was like the biggest scam that happened for state of Florida.
How does someone get away with that shit?
Oh, they're in a different country. What are you gonna do? Chase them in a different country? Where are you gonna find them?
I mean, but I'm trying to say, like, how do you allow that to happen in the first place? Like, what is there?
Well, if somebody's bankrupting, right? Like they're bankrupting, and first you pay your debtors, right? Like which ones are like, first you pay. So okay, so company can release several ways of releasing debt or collect capital. One is by releasing bonds, right? Corporate bonds. Those are considered the first debtors, which means that if the company goes insolvent and they're going bankrupt, they basically sell whatever equipment, whatever they have, and whatever money they recover, they pay the bond people first, and then it goes to if it's a big company, then it goes to preferred stocks, and then it goes to shareholders, right? But what usually happens, company never gets that full money, so debtors sometimes get the money, sometimes they only get half of the money. So then the preferred shareholders, they're all anything. SOL. They're all SOL, and people that bought the shares, they're fucked too. So what these companies will do, they'll collect that money and then it just disappear. That's actually the biggest scam with sugar, because sugar is in a market. They're sold by bushels basically, right? Like it's a commodity, so it's a fixed price, and the way they make money is by not paying taxes. And the way they do this is by creating the company, selling the sugar, and then bankrupting the company, which in terms like they got their money back, but they didn't pay the taxes. That's their profit.
But I've seen the same brand of sugar for forever.
Yeah, but those are not the people that are. Those are the people that refine the sugar and bring it to the stores. I'm talking about the ones that actually create the sugar, like grow the sugar cane and then they process it. Those are the companies. Those are the importers that are bringing sugar, let's say from Dominican Republic or somewhere else. They'll buy it from the farmer and then they sell it here to this company.
Okay.
But that's how they make their money. That importer, that middleman, is cuts on taxes.
Okay.
Yeah. They still get their money no matter what, because the sugar is being sold across the board, right? They just, before they bankrupt this company, they already have another one open and has the contract that's going no matter what, right? So that's how they make money. It's a big cartel on sugar and coffee. They make a lot of money by skipping on taxes. Coffee is another big one.
How long do you think until big tobacco has still phased out? It seems to be going little by little, right? I mean,
phased out.
Yeah, the trend of smoking cigarettes isn't as.
I don't know. Did we talk about this on podcast?
Damn, is it cool?
Is
you
it
see
cool?
Kid Cudi walking into the courtroom smoking a cig before the P Diddy testifying?
No, but there's.
But I did see the transcript of what what they were asking him and stuff. Basically about a girl that Diddy was involved with that he also was piping and some shit like that.
No, but then also Casey, everybody was trying to say that Casey's like a victim or whatever. Ended up being that she was cheating on her husband. She was like participating in these parties. She was organizing these parties. Like Casey's not as innocent as everybody thought she is, you know, because everybody saw that. You seen that video in a hotel where Diddy chases her out the fucking room and beats the shit out of her in a hotel? Yeah,
I
bro.
didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
No.
That's how it all started.
Oh, I thought you were shaking your head yes.
No, I didn't see it.
That's how it all started. And then everybody's like, oh my God, Casey's being a victim, this and that. And then come to find out, Casey on a stand straight up, like, yeah, I cheated on my husband several times. As a matter of fact, she was getting piped by Diddy and other people while the husband called on several occasions while she's getting piped and she answered the phone. Look right here. Bruh, this is vile.
Damn.
Yeah, this is vile.
Yeah, this guy's a fucking menace, dude.
Oh, wow. He kicks her and everything.
Yeah, bro. This
worse.
is vile.
It just gets worse.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's like that.
Bro thinks he's in a fucking scary movie dragging her ass.
Run, bitch. Damn. And he in a towel? With his cheeks
bro.
out?
Bro was just in a towel.
That's how this whole thing started. Because of this video.
I hadn't seen this. Oh, that's Diddy.
Yeah.
And he sat in the hallway in a towel. Throwing shit like a child. Goddamn.
Yeah. So but it's like a big ring of fucking just everyone smashing everyone basically. It's pretty bad.
People like fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that.
So talking about going back to the cigarette story, right? Did we ever talk about how that whole ban on cigarettes came out?
What ban on cigarettes? What do you mean?
Well, like you couldn't smoke anymore into like in the restaurants, and because before people would smoke in the planes, in the restaurants,
Well,
anywhere
yeah, I
they
mean,
wanted.
I'm assuming because of the health, like they started to realize it's unhealthy, and that's when they kind of
they marketed it that way. But the way it all happened, this is coming from a source that is very credible, and this source was there during the meeting, in a UN meeting, where during the UN meeting, this person was actually present inside that meeting in the big conference room with a bunch of people.
Okay.
And these people pretty much told the cigarette companies that you need to start paying us. You're making a lot of money. You need to start paying us. Cigarette companies came out and pretty much straight up said, who the fuck are you? We're not paying you nothing. People smoke cigarettes. We don't have to pay anyone anything. Like, all right, watch what's going to happen. And they slowly started releasing rules. Oh, this is bad for your health, which it is. And slowly started pushing that, slowly phased everything out. And that's how that whole thing came about.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people still smoke cigarettes. But what I'm trying to say is, like, can you see if there's a statistic on this, Miguel? I feel like people have stopped smoking.
Oh, yeah, people still smoke cigarettes.
I mean, I'm saying they I feel like not as much as before, though.
No, it's not as much. I'm telling you.
You want me to look up?
Cigarettes, how many cigarette smokers from, like, 2010 to now?
Well, the Marlboro Man, remember the Marlboro Man? He sued Marlboro and got a bunch of money because he got cancer. And, you know, he blamed the commercials for, like, him smoking. And he was the driving force, right? Like, cigarette companies went to extend as, like, advertising even to women is like, oh, it's the cool thing to do if you're a woman. It's like being strong and independent, this and that, the third, right?
So 28% to 1 in 10, basically. So a quarter to 1 in 10. That's a decent.
Yeah.
That's a decent drop.
Bro, back in the day, you'd get inside a plane and people would smoke cigarettes inside the plane, and I've actually lived through that. That's how old I am.
Yeah, I don't think I remember being on a plane and someone smoking a cigarette.
On a plane.
I mean, a lot of these planes still have the no cigarette sign.
They do. You're not allowed to. But now the thing is, a lot of people have vapes in a plane. So they added that you're not allowed to vape either.
No, you're not supposed to vape indoor anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's like an allowed lounge that they allow smoking inside, stuff like that, like a hookah lounge or whatever it is.
Correct. And that has to do with the amount of food that you're selling. It has to do with the amount of food that you're selling. X percentage of your sales, if it's food, you're not allowed to smoke. If it's below that percentage, you can smoke inside the thing. And then Chicago.
Really? Are you sure about that?
Yeah, it has to do with the
because
with
the place
percentage.
I know a hookah lounge that I know they sold. I know he definitely made more money off of food than he did anything else because there was a bar, like a sports bar next door that didn't have any food, so people would always come next door from the sports bar. It was a small hookah lounge, but he always had people coming in and out buying food. And I know for a fact he was making more money off food than anything else.
Yeah, if the liquor sales and other sales are more than food, there's a percentage. Like if I think it's like 80% of your sales is food. I don't quote me, or 80 or 70% of sales is food. Then at least that's what the rule used to be. And also it has to do whether it's enclosed, because Chicago back in the day when this ban came around and they were removing this, what Chicago came out with is like, oh, okay, so this is the loophole. So what they started doing, they started building roofs and stuff with a little bit of gap in a space into outside. So the wall had a gap. Because they had a gap and had the outside, it wasn't considered to be inside, and they were allowing people still to smoke. And for a while, restaurants had a smoking section, and then they removed those as well. Did you see this thing of Poppy Trump with the fucking with a South African?
Cue up the segment.
Bro.
What's in the news with Trump?
So I actually have a coworker who is South African.
Yeah.
And just not recently, but he grew up there. He knows what it was over there. And we were talking about this. Me and my I
would like to know what he said, because I've heard some things. Now I don't know how true these are.
No, he's not my coworker. Actually, he's technically Miguel's. Yeah. Right. But my actual coworker is good friends with him. That's how they actually got the job. That's how actually Miguel's coworker got the job, was through mine. Anyways, me and my coworker are talking about it, and he goes, "You know what's funny? I should go ask so and so, because so and so is from South Africa. Is there a genocide going on in South Africa right now?" And he straight up just called him while he's sitting at his desk, because they work in the other office. And then I guess the call wouldn't work, so he went over there and talked to him. And he came back and he said, "I got a simple answer. No."
Yeah, no, it's not. So here's what's going on. Yes, that is happening. That is happening. Like, a lot of white farmers are losing their lands to black farmers. But the way they say is like, 68% of the farms are owned by white people. But what they're not saying is that 72.
If you want to be exact.
But what they're not saying is majority of that land is like in a desert area. It's not in a good, like, lavish grassy area. But the ones that are in a grassy area, their majority are owned by black South Africans, and they're actually taking those lands. So is there a genocide going on? No, because it's not countrywide spread. It's just localized to those lands only. And what's happening is South Africa has this rule. If you want to do business with the government in South Africa, you're supposed to come in and 30% of your business belongs to a black African, because they have this movement to bring up a black African communities.
Say it again from the beginning.
If you want to do business with the government of South Africa, you have to gift 30% of your business to an African from South Africa, because there's that movement of bringing up black-owned businesses, so on and so forth. But you cannot pick who you're giving it to. Government will tell you who's going to take that business. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So today, if Elon Musk goes out there and opens a factory, he has to give 30% of that to someone.
And he doesn't get to pick, is what you're saying.
Correct. He doesn't get to pick. Now, there's a lot of corruption going on in the government, because South Africa has a lot of good land with a lot of resources, and every single one of those presidents that ever had, they go in and like just fucking rape and pillage and just take all the money.
Sell.
Yeah, and there's a lot of videos out there that, like, some leaders are out there screaming to kill the whites, and things like that. So the whole thing was with South Africa, there's this thing called apartheid, right? Which means like separation. So when this happened there were some people that came in from Europe, whites, and they kind of settled in a zone where there were really no black settlers, right? And black settlers were on the other side. Slowly, these two territories started merging, and this is when these problems started happening,
It says no, you don't have to give a certain percentage of your.
Well, that's
It's
what
saying
the
there's a
rule is.
bunch. They're saying there's a bunch of
Yeah,
inclusion
BEE,
laws.
Black Economic Empowerment Program and Employment Equality Act aim to Equity Act aim to increase the participation of previously disadvantaged groups in the economy.
Yeah, but you see what he asked, and then you see the answer.
Uh, no, you don't have to specifically give earnings back to black people to do business inside. We're not talking about the earnings. We're talking about giving 30% of the company, not earnings. Yeah, there's not the earnings. Yes. If you want to do business in South Africa, there's a requirement to allocate 30% of companies' ownership to historically disadvantaged groups, primarily the majority black population, according to BBC. This is part of a South African policy of black economic empowerment, BEE, aimed at addressing the inequalities of the past apartheid era. But the apartheid was done basically by saying, okay, you want to have your territory, we'll have our territory, right? Like, so it wasn't that they came in and conquered everything, right? Like there was not really that much of that.
Give me like a summary of the apartheid era.
Mm-hmm.
Not educated. Yeah,
Yeah.
ChatGPT is the way.
ChatGPT is not the way. If you want a good way, it's Grok or Perplexity, because ChatGPT is very left leaning. So you want something that's in the middle.
Apartheid was a system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination that was implemented by the South African government from 1948 to the early 1990s. Under apartheid, the white minority controlled the government and the economy, while non-white South Africans, especially black people, were denied basic rights, forced to live in separate areas, and subjected to severe restrictions in education, employment, political participation. The system sparked both internal resistance and international condemnation. Apartheid officially ended in the early 1990s, culminating in the election of Nelson Mandela, South Africa's first black president in 1994.
Yeah. So, but see the thing, this is right. It's writing the way, but from my understanding is it was like this. They came in on agreement. This is your territory. This is my territory. This is how we're gonna run this. And they said, okay.
Not what it sounds like.
Now I know that's not what it sounds like. And again, I'm telling you, this is very biased. ChatGPT is pretty biased. Like that's not according to some sources. This is not what happened.
Okay, I think history starts to get really interpreted in a weird way when you start listening to like the minority sources.
Well, no, it's not minority sources. Like you have to get sources that are not biased. And ChatGPT is pretty biased.
So,
ChatGPT will give you non-biased idea of how to do things.
So what is the answer that you're looking for exactly?
No, the answer is I'm looking what exactly happened, which means what was the agreement and why was that agreement done? Because the way it looks
the
like it like
agreement for apartheid?
correct.
Okay, let's ask it.
Yeah, the agreement for
But
apartheid.
that's not what we asked it.
Mm-hmm.
What was the reason, right? That's what you're looking for?
Yeah, what was the
for
reason?
apartheid?
No, how apartheid happened. Just how it happened. Historical.
How did apartheid
Mm-hmm.
happen? Apartheid happened as a result of long-standing racial divisions and colonial rule in South Africa, which were formalized and intensified by the government after 1948. Here's a brief breakdown of how it came about. Colonial foundations. Racial segregation in South Africa began during Dutch 1652 to 1795 and British colonial rule 1795 to 1910. Europeans seized land, dominated politics and economics, and treated indigenous African populations as inferior. Number 2, Union of South Africa, 1910. The country became a self-governing part of the British Empire, led by a white minority. Laws restricting non-white rights, examples land ownership and voting, were already in place.
Okay, well, hold on. See, it says Union of South Africa. Google which on a map. What is Union of South Africa in comparison to current South Africa? Yeah, we need to look at the maps and see what it looks like. Union of South Africa. Okay, so this is the thing. Well, but like, what's the historic maps, right? And current maps. There you go. So this is South Africa, and see this is like Botswana. It goes up towards the north a little more. So there is there is like discrepancy between maps. Like so, it's hard to say. Right.
All right. 3. Rise of Afrikaner nationalism. After World War I, Afrikaner, white Dutch descendant, nationalism grew stronger. In 1948, the National Party won the election and introduced apartheid as official policy to preserve white dominance. Number 4. Institutionalized of apartheid. The government passed laws to classify people by race and segregate every aspect of life. Housing, education, jobs, and public spaces.
Yes.
Non-whites were forced into homelands or poor townships and could not vote in national elections. Resistance and international pressure. Resistance movements like the African National Congress, ANC, led by figures such as Nelson Mandela, grew over time. International sanctions and internal.
And by the way, Nelson Mandela was in prison for many, many years, and then he came out. That was the big thing for Nelson Mandela, which he did a lot of good.
Leading to negotiations and the eventual dismantling of apartheid. And then the end of apartheid in the early 1990s under President F.W. de Klerk, apartheid laws were repealed. In 1994, South Africa held its first multiracial democratic election. Nelson Mandela became president.
Can you Google or ask ChatGPT which part of current South Africa belonged to indigenous and which belonged to the whites? No, during apartheid. Yeah, so this is a very convoluted. I'm back, baby. Unlike the apartheid, you can separate me from the live chat. All right, Joe. Joe is back.
Okay. White area is approximately 80% of land.
Okay.
White South Africans, who made up less than 20% of the population, were given ownership of around 87% of the land.
Okay.
These areas included major cities: Cape Town, Johannesburg, Pretoria, Durban, fertile farmlands and coastal regions, industrial and economic hubs.
Mm-hmm.
And then homelands and Bantustans, approximately 13% of land. The apartheid government created 10 homelands, also called Bantustans, for black South Africans based on ethnic groups. These included Transkei, I'm not going to try and say that,
yeah.
Venda, Ciskei, others for Zulu. So
well, you have to also know understand there's like 20 some languages currently in South Africa. So it's not just one language.
20? Just 20? I think
26 or 28.
Are you talking about just in South Africa?
Just in South Africa. Okay. Yeah, it's like 20 separate languages in there. Right, so white 87% of land, urban centers.
And then these homelands were often in poor, rural, and economically weak regions, meant to strip black South Africans of citizenship and confine them to independent mini-states.
Yeah, see, like this is that part, like meant to strip black Africans. No, that wasn't the case. They just fucking got rid of them because they wanted the fucking better lands. It's not to strip them of this and that. This is what I'm saying. It's a little biased. Like,
what do you mean? They gave him no voting rights, no nothing.
Yeah, I understand that. They gave him no voting rights because they wanted to keep the...
So that sounds like stripping them of citizenship and confining them to independent mini... See, it sounds to me like you're getting a biased story.
Could be. It could be.
Because from what I remember, and the reason I wanted Miguel to look up apartheid, because from what I remember in school, right, it was another story of blacks being put down around the world.
Blacks
from history. I didn't remember the intricacies, but I remember that being another tragic kind of period, right?
Well, no.
And when you were saying it like they were in agreement, it sounded kind of crazy.
But blacks being put down throughout the history, not only by whites. Blacks being put down by blacks in Africa itself.
Right.
More.
We know that they were sold by their own. I know
their own people, right? So, like blacks
being do with this.
No, it has nothing to do with that. But what I'm trying to say, during that time, there was a lot of colonization going on. Stronger force came in and took the weaker, right? Like, that's what happened.
But this was 1910 to what,
Correct.
Miggy? 1990? Is what it kind of spanned through the time period?
Yes. Well, you have to understand.
That's 20th century, bro.
Correct, but still, it doesn't matter because
began in 1652.
Six-
to
Well, that's like that
1795.
colonization. That's what that was.
yeah, but you have to understand it doesn't matter because at that time, even at 1910, right, they had better war equipment than the indigenous people.
Oh, I get what you're saying. I get
See what I
what
mean?
you're
So
saying.
it was a colonization of the world. It's not just the idea of the slave, right? Like the word slave that comes from the Russian language, from the Slavic language. Do you see what I'm saying? So that shit started actually in Russia with white people.
I
Like,
mean,
do you see what I'm saying?
what does that have to do with
What I'm
anything?
trying to say that people have been enslaving people throughout the history, whether it's white or black, whites against whites, black
Well, you
against
can
blacks,
say that,
or
but
across
you
the
also
board.
have to recognize that the majority of those people have been black.
No, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Throughout the history,
Okay, if you go back, I guess hundreds and thousands of years,
throughout the history, this has
but
been
in the
happening.
last 300 years,
But yeah, but when you're looking at slavery, even the word slave comes from a
okay,
Slavic language.
that doesn't matter.
Of course it matters. Of course
Within
it
the
matters.
last 300 years, who have been the majority of slaves?
My thing is, why
who
are we-
have been the majority of slaves in the last 300 years?
Yes, but within the last
we can't
last
even say
2,000
it.
years after the Christ, who's been the majority of slaves? I mean, like, how far do you want to go back? Why are we stopping at only 300? Why are we not stopping at 5, 6, 7, 8,
'Cause
2,000?
what's the
Why not
point?
at a 50? Why are we going to 300?
Shit,
That's
you
my
can go
question.
back
400,
175.
400.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. So if we're going to talk about slavery, let's talk about global slavery across the history, not just pick a certain bracket.
No,
Why
you're
not?
not, because let's talk about the slavery that still has fucking leftover effects today.
Correct. Slavery still has leftover effects in white countries as well. What do you mean? The whole idea of Ukraine and Russia being in a fight is because of these slavery relationships that date back even further, and they're all white.
I don't-
This is what I'm trying to
I
say.
don't know about that one.
What do you mean?
You can map it back to Africa, but you can't map that one. That's not the issue. Russia just want land.
No, I
They just want
understand.
the
I understand
resources.
that.
They don't want slaves. This has nothing to do with slaves.
I understand that. Nobody wants slaves right now either.
So how are you comparing that situation to slavery?
The slavery, what I'm trying to say, if you're talking about slavery has been happening throughout the history across the board.
How did we get
Across
here?
the board. My thing is, why are we only concentrating on slavery? If we're going to talk about slavery, let's
Because
talk about global slavery, which is a bad thing to begin with. Why are we picking only this group?
Because it's what's happening. We're not talking about what happened fucking ages ago. Before
What do you mean
Christ
this is
or
what's
during
happening?
Christ.
Where?
The slavery would just happen recently. I'm not talking about back then.
Like I
Okay,
said, the stuff
Google
that's
and ChatGPT.
still having crumbs effect today.
Crumbs effect today on which part?
What do you mean?
Like, I'm not understanding which part. What do you mean by crumbs effect to this part?
There are still people that were alive during that era that are still alive today.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, they have children
Mm-hmm.
who have to bear with their parents who have these ideas and have learned growing up. And
Mm-hmm.
got
Which
these
means there is
ideas
a
passed
there's a
down.
group of people that dominates over the other group of people, correct? That's what you mean.
No, what I mean
Mm-hmm.
is the fact of slavery
Mhm.
that was happening most recent is simple racism, right? Because it was
That's
you're black.
different. We're talking about slavery and racism. Those are two different things you're comparing. Slavery and racism
Did
are
we
not.
have white slaves in America?
What does that got to do with only having America? I'm not talking about only America. I'm talking about globally, and I mentioned this several times that I'm talking globally, not just America. Why are we talking about America? We're actually talking about South Africa to begin with, which is a global country. So why are we bringing it back to America?
Okay.
For American history, I agree. That was the slavery that happened for American history. But American history also had slavery of the indigenous people. Is that correct? Correct. The America also had slavery of their own people, like those Irish that came in. They used to also work as slaves. Some of them came in, they were working as slaves as well. Yes, although the number is not that big. I understand it's like miles not that big, but that happened as well. But we don't talk about that.
Okay. We'll move on, I guess, to another subject.
Yeah, let's not talk about Trump.
Well, anyway, so he came up and put the video on the TV and basically blasted him. He's like, explain this, where you're screaming how to kill the whites.
That was pretty funny. He just did not know how to react.
I didn't see the whole thing of like pull it up in 4K. Like,
Yeah.
that shit's crazy.
Yeah.
I heard about it, but I didn't watch the video. And who is this guy's like prime minister?
It's the president. I think.
President?
And then he just kind of like listens to him, talks, and then he's like, hold on a minute, bro.
Huh?
No, he just listens to him and then goes, hold on a minute, bro, and then puts the video up on the TV.
Turn the lights down.
Yeah. Bro, the fucking TV like it's the high school class, you know what I mean?
Bro, all I hear in the headphone is, this parliament can do without you.
Yeah, yeah.
You can do whatever you want to do.
Death. Death. Death.
Bro, he's a
Horrible
clown,
death.
bro.
Horrible.
Death.
You're taking people's land
We
away
have not.
from them.
We have,
And those people, in many cases, are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that.
Yeah, so
our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament.
But you do
Which-
allow them to take land.
No. People who do get killed, unfortunately, through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people. And we have now
The
been
farmers are
utilized.
black. The farmers are not black. Those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many ways, I mean, one should say you are a partner of South Africa, and you are raising concerns, and these are concerns that we are willing to talk to you about.
So yeah,
so
so
diplomatic, and he's got fucking Trump next to him. See, I feel like that's the thing. When is another politician gonna go in there and treat Trump like Trump? You know what I mean? Like that's what I want to fucking see. One of them go
they
in there.
can.
I want to. Well, someone's got to be able to do that, bro. Come
No
on.
one. The only people that can do that is Russia and China, and then we saw what he did with China. Because you know what happens in the government, right? Like I was listening to Michael Sarteni, and he fucking actually made a lot of sense. He's like, you know how government will come in and you do something wrong, and they'll give you like 36 counts of whatever bullshit. They'll make up stuff, and then you settle out of the courtroom.
Well, the thing is one crime can implement many charges.
Exactly, and then you
So-
settle out of the courtroom, and you only take 2 of the charges. The other ones fall off because government manufactures these things to look like.
Well, the whole thing, it's not a manufacturing necessarily.
It's out of thin air.
It's
but
at
they
a
wanted
certain
it-
point, it is straw pulling, is what it is. You're pulling
Yeah,
from
so-
straws, but it's still valid in the sense. But what they're doing is just making sure their artillery is as big as possible.
Correct.
So something can land.
Correct. So they're basically manufacturing, just like you said, these straws.
Not
that could land or could
manufacturing,
not-
but they're connecting thin lines.
Well, whatever they're doing, but thin lines, knowing that they might not work, it might work, might not work, and then they know that they're gonna drop majority of them, and then they're gonna just, because they can continue going against the government and maybe lend more, or just settle outside the court, pay their fees, and just get out, right? So what Trump did with China did exactly that. He manufactured shit out of thin air, like straw pulling out of thin air, to get his way. So China to settle down. Now they're shaking hands and saying China and United States gonna have a great future, this and that, and China like took his charges, you know, not all of it. They took their charges and they called it a day.
Speaking of China and Trump, the tariff shit. So I tried ordering. I did order a wheel, but
Yeah.
I was looking at ordering it last week, and I was gonna order it directly through the manufacturer, which is a Chinese manufacturer, and it's a Chinese company. And bro, it's gonna charge me $328 for shipping.
Yeah.
I said, fuck. And so we found, your brother found a retailer out of Texas that I ordered it through. But I saw on Reddit, a lot of people kept saying, like, oh, send them an email and you'll get a 5% discount or whatever, right? I sent them an email and they go, man, right now, because of these tariffs, can't do nothing.
Yeah.
That's basically what the dude told me. And he's like, oh, the bundle's already on sale, this and that. And other stuff too, man, going up in price. I mean,
of course.
and then shipping is what you're seeing it.
Insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
Because they're smuggling those fees into the shipping, right? 'Cause
Instead
it
of
goes through the
tacking
border,
it
it becomes part of the
onto
shipping.
the actual
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. But even certain things like the actual MSRP is going up in price. Certain
Well,
certain
you know
items.
who's taking those taxes, right? Is the United States government that's taking these taxes, not the fucking Chinese.
What do you mean?
So the reason it's smuggled into the shipping is because when it comes into United States, the price goes up. The taxes go up because you have to pay those taxes to get your product.
Right.
So that's why it's smuggled in within the shipping, because you're not paying taxes to China. China takes their taxes and that's that. The minute it hits the United States coast, United States government collects those taxes because it's coming in from China. That's where the tariffs come in.
Well, we end up paying it.
You end up paying it, correct, but you end up paying it within your shipping, because that's what I'm saying. That's why it's part of the shipping, because it's smuggled into the shipping, because you're paying to the customs that tax. Well, United States customs.
I think that's. I mean, I feel like they could do it either way. In reality,
No, because China takes their taxes. That's it. It's the products that come into the United States have that high tax rate
Right.
on it. That's why you're paying that much money.
Apparently, we talked about this last time. DJI is not bringing their newest drone to the U.S. because of this.
Because of the tax. But now that the taxes are calming down, the tariffs that pretty much shook hands and it's not going to change. So this is it.
Well, it's only 90 days, I thought.
No, it's just going to continue. They're going to, after 90 days, they're going to shake hands and then call it a day. Once China accepts, okay, I'll take this, you take that. Okay, that's it. That's going to be the end of that. That's what I'm saying. They manufactured shit on China. And now we're going to end up paying for some things more and some things less. That's basically what's going to happen. But we're not going to pay for things less. We're just going to pay less in taxes, but the price is going to be still high.
I still can't believe that Diddy video y'all just showed me. He beat the shit out of that
Yeah,
girl.
he did beat the shit out of it. And most people saw that video, but now that they've been watching the actual trial and Casey been going out there, now people slowly turning against Casey because, like, you've been participating in this shit. You've been recruiting people. Like, you've been calling people to come in, like, for yourself.
I just saw a little transcript of the guy, like I think someone's lawyer or whatever, tweeted like basically the small interview between Kid Cudi and the lawyer that when he was on the stand or whatever, basically saying like Casey called me, needed help or something. I went and picked her up, and then Diddy pulled up at my house, a bunch of shit and this and that. I don't know, it was weird.
Molotov cocktailed his car.
Yeah, there was. I didn't read too far deep into it. Looks like I missed some of the best parts.
He opened the Christmas presents, so.
Yeah, I read that when you were scrolling through. Like he went
There
to
were
his
wrapped
house
Christmas presents. He opened his Christmas presents.
like his and his family's Christmas presents or whatever.
That's fucked up for the kid, dude. That's traumatizing for the kids. What the fuck?
Traumatizing for the kids? Nah, man, get out of here, bro.
Man.
Traumatizing for the kids opening Christmas presents?
What do you mean?
Santa just ripped up all my presents.
Santa? That's
Well,
Diddy. Diddy just came in your house, bro, in front of you and your kids, and he started opening the presents. Your kids don't get the enjoyment to do it. It ain't Christmas, so you can't give it to them yet.
But that's not traumatizing. Well, like you guys talking about when you say
You
traumatizing.
think he did it happily?
These kids
you think
are
he went in and was like, "Oh, look at what you're getting"? Nah, he was doing that shit to be a dick.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but you guys are making it sound like these kids gonna need psychological help in 10 years and their lives are gonna be fucked up because Diddy opened presents.
Who knows?
Oh, come on, man.
Who knows what?
Stop that.
Who knows what
Please
else
stop
Dizzy
that.
said when he
that.
was in there?
Stop that. Stop it.
What if he did some things to Cudi while?
Well, that's different because we need to see. There was some guy on one of the podcasts.
I like Kid Cudi. I'm not gonna.
So it was I don't know who. I don't remember who was talking about. It was like, we need to see his booty. Show me your booty hole, because if you take it up,
I did see all the pictures.
Booty.
I did see all the pictures of the Everglide or whatever the fuck that shit is called, the fucking lube and baby crates, bro, crates of lube and baby oil. Show me your booty. Oh, that was Charlemagne the God that said that?
Yes,
Oh,
bro.
shit.
And then the guy that was on the podcast was like, bro, yo, chill. You know, it's like, nah, I'm not saying I want to see his entire booty. I just want to see the booty hole because he got wrinkles in it if you take a dick. Bro, it's so funny, bro.
That's crazy.
I think I sent it to you guys. I sent it to Miggy because I know he looks at my reels. You don't look at fucking reels, so I didn't even bother
I do
sending it to you.
sometimes, you fucking bitch. I do.
Nah, man.
Yeah, I do.
Once a year, it don't count. No, it
Look,
wasn't
I only got
him. No, it
11
wasn't
on
him.
red right now.
Yeah, it wasn't him. Hold on, let me find it. While you guys talk, let me find this real quick. Hold
on, we gotta
On his nip. Whoa, what he said? Yeah, I got
This
it.
episode was wild. I'm not gonna hold you. I like this episode. It was funny as fuck. Hold on, let me.
Yeah, right here. I'm gonna send this one
Let me
to
unmute this too.
the chat.
It's about the money. That's what I come here for every week. Y'all want to be all serious and shit. Y'all may take this shit serious. This man had another man's nut on his nipple. What are we talking about? And it drives me crazy that y'all don't get it. Why y'all acting like this is normal? Y'all just moving on about your day. What is wrong with y'all? What is going on, man? When will you realize?
Yeah, go
Once
go to
somebody
Discord,
gets
go to
in
Discord.
Nut on
office,
his
we don't
nipples?
realize
When
that regardless.
When did this come out? He had another man's nut on his nipples?
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
bro,
honest with
they'll
you. If
do.
they offered Diddy a plea, he should have took the
They're
plea.
not
Point
making
is.
it
don't want to be
difficult.
free. There's a lot of coming
Can
from
you
prison.
pull up
Yo, man, can you
Discord?
imagine
There's a
going
lot
back
of
to
coming.
jail?
White party.
It's people
Man.
in the cell with
He
their
said,
hands
don't
like
wanna
this,
be
full of
free. There's a
cum.
lot of
Ready.
cum.
Oh, man.
I got a room temp with your semen for you,
No,
Diddy.
you don't.
I got a warm semen for you, Diddy. It's a little bit of cold, but we can. This one's a little cold, but we can heat it up.
I don't even like how you directed it to me, man.
I'm
like,
just saying,
you could've
you gotta
directed
go
it
back to
Chris.
jail?
Other man's nut on the nipples.
That could be a drink at a bar, right? You got
Nut on the
Can I get
nipples?
a nut on the nipple? I'm gonna be honest with you.
That could be a drink.
Go to Discord. I just posted that. Yeah, that one. Pull that one up.
I can't hear nothing.
That happened. Meek Mill a bitch.
Meek Mill.
But say, I'll give you $100,000 if you prove I'm not gay. What kind of man say that? What kind of man got to pay to prove he not gay? Stop playing on me. I told you, to prove you're not gay, pull your pants down so your booty hole in. Because when you gay, your booty hole got wrinkles in it. I bet you he got a loose booty. I bet you that booty hole wrinkled as hell. That man gay. Meek Mill, if you watching this, you got 24 hours to show your asshole. 24 hours.
The fuck?
24 hours, nigga. You got 24 hours to show your ass, nigga.
Yo.
I want to see that ass.
Look at the guy next to
No, we don't.
I gotta make sure you're not gay.
We don't want to see that ass.
He got 24 hours, so not the whole ass. I just want to see the whole part. I don't want to see the whole, not the booty. I don't want to see the booty. I just want to see the whole part. Just show me like, what's that part? What's that part? What's that whole part? What's that part, Capone?
I don't know. The whole.
Yeah, I need to see that part. Meek Mill, you got 24 hours, nigga. 24 hours.
You don't got 24 hours.
Why
You
you
got
so
24
bad?
hours.
Bro, I don't know why he's so bad.
I'm giving you a pass. A worldwide pass.
I
Come on,
don't
man, you
know
gotta
who
see
this
his
guy is,
ass.
but
He run around saying he not
wanna
gay,
see
he
your
paying
booty
$100,000.
he said.
See, I want to prove he gay to get that $100,000.
He said, I
He
want
got to if I prove he gay. And if his ass got wrinkles in it, the booty hole, you know, when you hit the girl in the booty, come on, gang, stop playing with me.
He's trying to explain it. It's crazy.
the booty hole got wrinkled, and I think he knew what he said didn't sound right, and they kept doubling up on it just to make it sound right, but it just kept getting worse and worse. The more you watch
he
it, the
still was
funnier
just
it
asking
gets.
to see Meek Mill's asshole. So
Yeah.
you can't really say that in a certain way to not sound a little zesty, you know. If you want to be zesty, that's on him though.
Yeah, so the whole thing with, I don't know what's going to happen with the South Africa and United States. Yeah, because South Africa was...
We're not going back to that one.
No, because remember, South Africa is like officially part of that BRICS, right? Like the whole idea of BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, right? That's why...
So your hobbies, Mickey?
Oh,
Oh, damn, you out.
That's why they're all... They're all, you know, yeah, I always do that.
What's wrong with you, Jay?
That's why, you know, he went all in on South Africa. So I don't know what's gonna happen there.
You ruined the nice leather on the vape, bro.
That's not leather. That's pleather from China. They got tariffs on it.
You trying to take the tariffs off?
Yep.
It's gonna make it cost less. You tell the guy, let me get it without the pleather.
Yeah.
And then cost a little less.
Cut in cost and get rid of that nice packaging.
This is sus. This is sus right here. Blue Raz Gush.
Stop bringing it back to Diddy.
I'm.
Can you show those crates?
This
I
is
haven't
a
seen
Diddy
the
vape.
crates yet.
This is a Diddy vape right here.
Let's see what.
The crates of baby oil and shit.
Oh, you didn't see this? No. That shit is crazy. Literally like the fucking plastic milk crates, bro. Fool that shit. No.
Oh, I've seen
that's
that.
one. Yeah, no. That one. Yeah, Miguel. That one. Oh, I guess they're like little tubs. Fool.
Bro. Is that baby oil all on the walls right
Yeah.
there? On the walls. That's baby oil instead of like champagne bottles.
Yeah. Ah, shit. Bro,
Why so much baby oil?
That's what I'm
wanna
gonna
know.
say, bro,
Yeah.
but I don't understand.
Like, how many bottles of it do you go through one
did
of
he
those
get a Johnson
freak-offs?
& Johnson sponsor? He should get one after this.
Go back up. Go back up. Go back up a little bit. What is that bottle right there? A baby oil that really works. The Diddy Special. Never mind. Because the wall with those bottles look like that, right? This is some bullshit. But if you go up, they'll look like, this, right? Those cops are entering the bathroom.
It's Johnson & Johnson, bro.
No. Go back up. Go back up. There's one of the pictures you clicked on. Keep going back up. There was cops entering the room. No, this is when they're entered, but
On the
as they're entering the room.
left side down.
Yeah, that. Like that right there. See what is that on the second picture below? What is that on the walls right there?
I don't know.
That right there. See what are those things? Right there.
No idea, bro. No idea.
Bro, it's so pixelated. the fuck?
But look at the size of those.
Why he look like a little alien? Why his?
Assume it's only one.
Why?
Bro, but look at the size of, like, if you compare it to people where the counter ends, right?
That's a liter bottle, bro.
Bro, those are bigger bottles. Look at the ones
Nah,
in the
nah,
back
they're
with
a
the
liter.
pump.
They're a liter. But why you need that much baby oil?
And how many bottles do you go through in freak off to buy that many?
Like,
of
how
them?
many people do you think you would need to go through one bottle, a whole bottle?
Bro, it's baby oil. That shit. If you ever
I
tried
know.
touching the baby oil,
I know.
bro,
It
fucking
goes a long.
spreads.
It goes a long way. I know. So how many people? Like,
I
how
mean-
big does the orgy need to be for a whole bottle? To
Look
be
at his
done
look at
in
his
one night.
Look at his forehead. I mean, it's glistening.
I
mean,
know,
they
but what's
must
the
have
number?
used a
What's the
lot.
number? How many people one bottle? Does ChatGPT have an answer for this? how,
Hey,
how many people?
estimate it? Just be like estimate
How many people would it take in an orgy to fill?
in a Diddy freak off. Just put that in there.
Just do an orgy, or whatever. I guess to finish. Yeah, one bottle of Johnson & Johnson. 10 person. I don't know. 10 might be. Bro, I hate when ChatGPT does this. If I wanted the explanation, I'll ask for the explanation kind
One
of thing.
bottle is not enough for 10, so there's at least 10.
There's at least 10 bottles. So let's say he go through 50. Right? Let's say bottle a person. 50. He can't have more than 50 people in
Bottle
there
a
lathering up.
person?
Well, let's just say
You won't be able to walk around. You're gonna be slipping and falling everywhere.
slip and
A
slide.
bottle a
Yeah.
person.
He's like, you coming into a slip and slide party and we don't got the slides.
You just fucking
You
bust
just
ass on the,
slip
on the
on
tile.
the fucking tile. So let's just say 50
Slip into
bottles.
some
Like,
pussy.
let's just say 50 bottles.
ChatGPT recommends 2 to 3 large pump bottles if there's 10 people.
Damn. So these motherfuckers be going through baby oil like crazy because 2 to 3 bottles. That means like you basically need a bottle per couple.
Yeah, but then also, he would invite a bunch of people. Not everybody would participate. There was like only certain group of people that participated. Like a very, very and not necessarily they all be using the baby oil. You know what I mean?
LeBron said, ain't no party like a Diddy party. How about a Diddy freak off? That's crazy. In that kind of scenario, the expectations are much higher than the typical group setting.
Multiple rounds, various activities, and lots of full body interaction.
Damn, baby oil is not condom safe. It damages latex.
Yes, you can't use that. I don't know. I don't even know if like the lube is condom. Maybe it's safe. I don't know. Can you look up?
You should not use this for anything.
Yeah.
This is just so you look good.
So
Can you look up
slipping and sliding all over
if
each
lube
other.
is condom safe? Because I know there's some lube that is not condom safe.
And some are not.
Mm-hmm. Water-based lubes are safe, but then silicone-based are safe. Oil-based are not. Okay. Because I know that was a
Silicone-based lubes. That doesn't sound safe.
well the water.
Just jamming silicone up in there.
Well, no,
and then leaving it.
So the thing with the water-based, they say that water-based dries out very quickly, while
Yeah,
silicone-based
it
continues
does.
to keep
yeah,
going.
water-based does it. You need a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but you need more than the other kinds.
Yeah.
But to me, water based always sounded like the most safe.
Because it's
Like,
water based.
yeah.
Ain't none of that shit safe, bro. You
I know, but it sounds
chemicals
like the
and
one
shit,
that
man.
has the least amount of chemicals or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Look up which is more safe, water based or
Oil, silicone or oil, I guess.
Oil is not safe.
Well, it's
well, it's not safe for
condoms.
condoms for sure. Dries out fast, can get sticky as it dries. Yeah.
Damn, they even tell you best for anal sex. Like a little PS. This motherfuckers gave you a chart.
They gave me a fucking breakdown. Best for anal, needs frequent reapply. Alright, I think we can end, guys.
Yeah, we'll end it on the lube note for today. See you guys back here next week, you know, doing our thing, talking more about lube and Diddy parties. I feel
And
like
you can always expect a new Trump shit come up.
we're gonna need to get that little Trump thing, Trump talk thing.
Yeah, Trump talk thing. We need to. Yeah.
All right, guys. See you guys next week. Appreciate you joining us. Peace.
Peace.